Tonight, the Boston Bruins take on the Toronto Maple Leafs in Game 3. Let's do this. Tonight, the Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to get back at it. The series is tied at 1 apiece. We had a pretty awesome first game if you're a Bruins fan. Pretty awesome second game if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. And to take one in Boston, I think, is a pretty good win for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And now I think it's Boston's time to respond to that, and they need to get one win in Toronto, if not 2 wins. And we'll see what they can do. I think this series at the beginning, when it started, I said this series was probably going to go 7. That's based on the Bruins' history when they're playing well. That's also me thinking of how the Toronto home ice advantage is going to push the Toronto Maple Leafs players and team, and how it's going to help them out, and just the passion of the city and everything else. And some people said Bruins in 6, some people said Maple Leafs in 6, but I'm going to go ahead and say it's going to be a 7-game series. And I'm very close on this. I do think Toronto I could definitely 100% see Toronto winning this series and moving on and being eliminated in the second round. But I'm going to go ahead and say that the Bruins are going to win in 7. That's my prediction. But I'm not saying that I have to make a prediction, folks, okay? So don't get mad at me. I know you Toronto fans, I get it. I have to make a prediction, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to have to say Bruins in 7, but it's going to be very, very close. And that's what I think. Certainly, though, could see Toronto winning and all that stuff as well. I could see Toronto, winning in 6 or something. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying that. But tonight, the Bruins will get Andrew Ference back, which, wow, was there a big difference the other night when Hamilton was in. He didn't play very well at all. He played god-awful in the lineup the other night. I mean, in the beginning of the season, he was a points leader. He was just destroying. Everything was a point. He was a fantasy player that I love to pick. But now that the heat's turned on in the playoffs, he just does not look right. He doesn't fit into the mold. So having Andrew Ference in there, and he was probably one of the worst defensemen on the Bruins all year round, Andrew Ference, but he's turned his game up a notch, and he's going to make a good difference in the game tonight. And so look for that. So I'm going to say that tonight in Toronto, I think that the Bruins are going to win this game tonight by a score of 4 to 5, if you can believe that. I think this game's going to be high scoring tonight. I don't know why. I could be way off, but I think it's going to be 4 to 5 Bruins tonight. Let me know what you think. It's the Boston Bruins versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. Pimple Face Kessel versus Tyler Seguin. For years now, the Bruins fans have been chanting, "Thank you, Kessel." But tonight, can Phil Kessel make the Toronto fans chant, "Thank you, Seguin"? Well, we'll find out tonight when the Bruins meet the Maple Leafs. I guess that's not much of a. I guess that's not really valid since the Bruins already won a Stanley Cup with Seguin. So maybe Toronto has to wait to say "Thank you, Seguin" until Toronto wins the Stanley Cup. But I'll tell you what. Imagine this. Imagine if I was a Toronto fan, or if I was getting excited. Imagine if the Toronto Maple Leafs did win a Stanley Cup this year or next year, either one, this year or next year, won a Stanley Cup somehow. Wouldn't that would change that whole trade from it looking like the Bruins raped Toronto in that trade? It would turn it into a symbiotic type of thing where you got what you wanted, we actually got what we wanted, and it all worked out. And it will change the way we look at that trade. Where a lot of people look at the Tuukka Rask, Andrew Raycroft trade. Now that's the one where the Bruins raped Toronto. They gave up Andrew Raycroft and we got Tuukka Rask. That's the rape. And Tyler Seguin was a little bit of a problem as well. But if Toronto can continuously make the playoffs or win a Stanley Cup, I'll say even if Toronto just makes big runs in the playoffs for the next few years, that it's a win for them as well. Then everybody got what they wanted. Toronto got back to the playoffs, got a team that could compete again, and the Bruins ended up getting a Stanley Cup. Both teams got what they wanted out of the trade. So I think it's starting to pay off now for Toronto, where it's already paid off for the Bruins. So what do you think, Toronto fans? I don't know. Let me know. I am in Boston, so I've got a little bit of bias. And real quick, by the way, I want to touch on something disgusting that happened at the Bruins game in Toronto. I guess some fan was there and he got decked in the face. Now, the facts aren't really coming out. We don't know if the Toronto fan provoked someone, if he dumped his beer on somebody, or if he was an asshole, or if he was just an innocent bystander. But this has happened to Bruins fans going to Montreal, and this has happened to Montreal fans coming to Boston, and this has happened now to a Toronto fan in Boston, and I'm sure it happens. It doesn't matter what city you're in. There's douchebags everywhere. I'm sure there's a douchebag in Toronto. I'm sure there's a douchebag in Boston. I'm sure there's douchebags in Vancouver because they set their own city on fire when they lost the cup. Okay? So I'm sure there's douchebags everywhere. But the point is, can we please relax, folks? We can make fun of each other a little bit but let's be a little bit civil, when people come in. But at the same time, I understand if you're a Montreal Canadiens fan and you start taunting me when your team is up and whatever, and you speak in your I'm gonna smack the crap out of you, okay? Every time you do that. So I guess I just contradicted myself. But seriously, can't we all just get along? Can't we have world peace? It's hockey. We all love it. USA, America, Canada. We're all so damn close. That's maybe why we hate each other so much at times. Really, Canada and America, we're very similar. Canada has more white people that are more douchebag white people than America, but we've got some scary white people in America, I'll tell you that. So it's no difference. But anyway, enjoy the game tonight. Toronto Bruins, you got my predictions. What do you think? Join the channel, subscribe for more rants. This is my new hockey channel. I've got another channel called Joe Cronin Show, so check it out. Go to youtube.com/Joe Cronin Show, where I only talk about WWE wrestling. That's all I talk about on there. So you got to go there, check that out if you're into that. But this is where the hockey talk's going to be, and we're going to talk about the Bruins, Toronto Maple Leafs after the game tonight. Leave your comments below, and I am out of here. I'm going to go rape my dog.